Large cars, 4 doors, and V8s. That is something we are really familiar with about our locally made Australian cars. And well, so are the Germans. And this right here is a 2013 BMW M6 Gran Coupe. This was BMW's flagship M car with a 4.4 liter twin turbo V8 pushing about 570 horsepower. These monster missiles were no joke. And now with quite a few years passing since the release of these M6s and prices slowly coming back down to obtainable levels, I thought, let's ask the question, is a used BMW M6 still a good buy in 2021? Now these M6s were not cheap when they first came out. Now here in Australia, a base one of these was going to set you back about $300,000. And that's before any of the options, and this one's fully loaded. Look, even this paint color, this really nice matte, frozen gray it's called, that's going to set you back about $5,000. Carbon ceramic brakes on this one. You can tell by the gold calipers and just the monstrous discs on this thing. $24,000 for that. Bang & Olufsen sound system, that's like another $14,000 option. Look, all together, it's got about $55,000 of options, this car, which is absolutely insane. And that is proper supercar money when this thing first came out. Now, on the used market, look, here in Australia, you're going to be paying around about $70,000 to $170,000, depending on the case and age, condition. But it's starting to become a bit more achievable. Now, when you just look at this car, it's very menacing and it's very subtle as well at the same time. Monstrous car. It is absolutely probably one of the largest cars I've had on the channel, in a sedan form at least, and just the huge bonnet on this thing. This houses the 4.4 liter twin turbo V8 that makes about 570 horsepower and 500 pound-foot of torque from factory. These things will do 0 to 100 in about 4.2 seconds, and if you got the competition pack, which this one does, you're going to drop that down to about 3.9 seconds, and that is from a 2-ton vehicle. So very impressive. Now, just stepping inside this M6, it is very premium in here, as you would expect when we're talking that kind of money. We've got the 7-speed dual clutch here. This is the MDCT, straight out of the old V10 M5, and it's extremely well sorted. Got flappy paddles up here as well. Carbon fiber all throughout the center console, on the door sides. Very good infotainment system. This is actually fitted with TV in this particular car, which is just a very, very cool feature that I don't see often. Now in the back of the M6, this is really suited for 2 people. It's kind of more of a 2 up the front, 2 up the back type deal. Though there is a middle seat, you can use it in an emergency, but we have this very long center console kind of extending all the way through the back. So there really is no leg room for whoever sits in the middle. You do get, however, your own climate controls back there. It has heated seats in the back. We also have rear sunshades that are all automatic. Even on the passenger side windows, they're automatic sunshades, which is very cool to see. And just at the back of the M6, this has got to be one of the best rear ends I think BMW's ever done. So low, so wide, looks so aggressive. Just absolutely love the rear end of this car. Down here, we've also got a carbon fiber diffuser in between the exhausts. Quad tips here, they're blacked out also. That is a key aspect you can tell when it's got the competition pack. So take a listen. Driving the M6 Gran Coupe. Well, this is a whole lot of car, figuratively and literally. Just going around, some of these backcountry roads here, it's surprisingly well suited actually. It's rear-wheel drive, this vehicle, but we got a lot of confidence. You know, this thing really doesn't feel like, you know, you're even pushing it, doing some very high speeds. And you know, this is a BMW, it's a German car. This is an autobahn monster, and I've been told that this thing on the autobahn has been shown doing over 300 kilometers per hour. So that is some scary speeds in a 2-ton 4-door vehicle. Now, just before we carry on with this M6 review, please go ahead and make sure you hit that big red subscribe button and click the bell notifications just so you get updated on all our weekly uploads. Now, just in the comfort settings here, you know, we've got comfort steering, comfort suspension, just in drive. And look, it really could be used as a daily, this thing. You know, it's very livable. Steering is quite easy. Throttle response is pretty nice. And it soaks up the road really well. You know, this road is a bit of a rougher back road, and it dampens it pretty efficiently. You do hear a little bit of road noise, surprisingly enough, you know, considering the price point of this car. But when you're on song, this exhaust system makes up for that 110%, guys. This type of car as well really hides the speed on you. You know, you'll just be cruising along. If you had the music on or something, you might just barely put your right foot down a little bit unsuspectingly, and this thing is going to be well and truly over the speed limit in dangerous territory. So, you know, you really got to be kind of focusing on that speed limit. And luckily enough, we do have a heads-up display here, so you do see how fast you're going quite easily, because you can get to some scary speeds very quickly in this car. Now, this particular one also is not 100% factory. This has got a stage 1 chip tune, basically, so a plug and play, and this gives you an extra 150 horsepower. So this is now a 700, you know, brake horsepower vehicle, and you know, that number is quite monstrous for just a plug and play tune that anybody can do to one of these things. It's absolutely phenomenal how much you gain out of it. And now, just putting it into its M mode button here. So this obviously stiffens up the suspension, stiffens up the steering, gives, you know, a little bit more throttle response. The gears do get a little bit more responsive also. And also, we do have a heads-up display that changes, tells us what gear we're in, and gives us a rev counter, which is really nice to see. And it is quite massive, so you know, you really can't miss it. And just running through the gears here again, just have a bit of sound of this car. Oh, Jesus Christ. The backfires of this thing, especially when you downshift, that is so satisfying. It sounds spectacular, this car. And again, this car has some really unique features that includes night vision technology. So there's a little button down here on the right side of the steering wheel. You just tap that and BMW night vision kicks in, and just look at how cool that looks. You know, even if it detects some people or some heat signatures, it will actually bring that up in orange. And you know, here we've got a couple of bikers in front of us that you can clearly see. That is very, very cool technology. Now, fuel consumption in this car, I got a figure that I'm pretty skeptical about that was claimed at about 10 liters per 100K. So look, this is a twin turbo V8, it's a 2-ton vehicle. I'm pretty surprised that that was the figure I found claimed from BMW. But nonetheless, that was what it was claimed at. Now this particular car, it's averaging about 16 liters per 100 Ks. That sounds a lot more believable. Now obviously this does have that stage 1 tune we said, so I would imagine this is using a bit more fuel than the standard M6, but again, I would expect you to be getting about between that 13 and 14 liters. Now obviously, reliability of this vehicle, you think it's a very expensive, high performance M car. Look, you always want to make sure you have a little bit of money to be able to service this thing and take care of it properly. But going through some of the forums and speaking to some owners who have owned these cars, they've all said pretty good things. Now, I don't know of a lot of huge K ones, so, time will tell once these cars get up to, 150, 200,000 Ks on the clock. I'm not really sure how the quality will be, but at the moment, these cars seem to be doing pretty well. Now, if you're looking to buy a used one of these, probably the key things to look for is obviously the Ks, service history has been taken care of, but you also want to make sure you look at stuff like the brakes, especially if you've got carbon ceramics ticked on the options, because if the pads are low and you need to replace them or do any kind of maintenance, that is talking quite large money to do anything with that. So just make sure you do your homework, especially around that brake area. And just coming around these corners in M mode once again, it's just so well sorted. And you just get into it. And it's fast. And having that engine, that twin turbo V8, it's actually almost a mid-platform engine because the engine is actually situated behind the front axle. So you have that low center of gravity, the carbon fiber roof, the engine behind the front axles. It just makes for such a well-planted car, and you can really send this thing through the corners even though you're carrying 2 tons of weight, and it is probably one of the biggest cars on the road. It's a fantastic vehicle. It really is just over-engineered and bloody brilliant. And just shouting out this week's Patreon subscribers, huge thank you to these guys. Please, if you guys are interested to join up, a link is in the description below. If you want to get access to behind the scenes footage and early access of reviews, a link is in the description. Now this thing does have launch control. Unfortunately, we're not going to be using it today. There is a slight issue with it at the moment in this particular car, but we're just going to send it basically and see what we get. So just build up the revs a little bit. We're in M mode. You can see that slight little delay at the beginning that would have been sorted if we had to use launch control, but wow, you can see this thing was actually fighting traction as well. I saw the traction control light come up a couple of times, and this thing sucks you into the back of the seat very hard. And my goodness, yeah, this feels like it's got every bit of 700 horsepower at the moment. Wow. It's absolute beast, this thing. My goodness. Probably the biggest con for me is that this thing is just an uber expensive M car that, if anything did happen, God forbid, would just be a very, very expensive car to sort out. So final thoughts on this M6. Well, look, if you're in the market to buy one of these cars, if you've got the money and you find the right one that's been taken care of, it's got the service history, still got a lot of life left on them, look, I gotta say, this is a really good car. There is not a lot of cars that compare with this thing in terms of its speed, its value at the moment, and just its daily ability, and you can still keep up with supercars in this thing. You know, 0 to 100 in the comp is claimed at about 3.9 seconds, which is absolutely insane. So if you find a good one, I say go for it, guys. This thing is a really good car. The shifts feel nice. The car is comfortable. It's got a lot of beautiful features in here, and it just drives really, really well. So thank you guys for watching. I'm going to finish the video off here today. So a huge, huge thank you goes out to the owner, Ollie, for allowing me to take out his pride and joy, his BMW M6. This car was an absolute joy to drive, and the bangs and pops just really got to me on this thing. He actually has an Instagram page, so I'll leave a link for it in the description below. It's at Hard Life Garage, so please go and chuck him a follow. So I hope you guys learned something. Hope you guys really enjoyed this video. If so, please go ahead and hit that like button. Consider subscribing if you're new here, and we'll see you on that next video.